The Democratic candidate for Florida Governor Andrew Gillum has withdrawn his concession as a contentious statewide recount gets underway. There are now lawsuits and accusations of foul play. So joining us are former Ohio Secretary of State and conservative columnist Ken Blackwell and the former U.S. Attorney in South Florida, Kendall Coffey. Gentlemen, great to have you both with us. Mr. Blackwell, you claimed last week, you said Democrats in Florida are, quote, manufacturing votes. Do you stand by that accusation?
I stand by the accusation because, look, there's a history of chronic malfeasance. There has been lapses in transparency and missed deadlines. And as a consequence, there are 93,000 votes that materialize.
Where are you getting that number? I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Blackwell. I just want to stop for 1 second to fact check. We can't find what that number is based on. Where are you getting the number of 93,000?
Well, the number is based on what was at 30 minutes after the polls closed. The number was 634,000 votes.
Yeah.
It materialized over the next 24 hours to increase by 83,000 votes.
And are those overseas military ballots and absentee votes that have
No, they're not.
How do you know?
So the reality is that the rules say that those votes should be tabulated.
Yeah, all votes.
And we should know the number.
Yeah.
You know, so right, all legally cast votes should be tabulated. That's why we have rules and regulations.
And that's what's
happening. There's a history of ballot destruction. Ma'am, there is a history of ballot destruction. This has been litigated. She has admitted that she has done ballot destruction before.
That's different than
manufacturing
votes.
chronic history.
I hear what you're saying is that there's all sorts of things that have been problems in the past, but that's different than manufacturing votes this time.
Yeah, like I said, as I said, that there is a concern that there has been lapses in transparency, and when you have a lapse in transparency, what you have is a rise in suspicion. There's a consistent undercutting of public confidence and trust in this bipartisan system. And when you tell people that they can't see the process, you raise the suspicion that something nefarious is happening.
Transparency, lack of transparency is, of course, lack of transparency is bad. But the 93,000 manufactured votes feels like a stretch. But let me bring in Mr. Coffey.
It feels like a stretch to you, but that's why the courts have decided that, one, she was wrong in the lapse in transparency, and we, in fact, need to put eyeballs and light on the situation. And I can tell you, look, if it's chronic malfeasance versus manufacturing and a vote, then that'll come out in the wash.
Yes, agreed. I want to get in, Mr. Coffey.
The way it comes out is that we, in fact, we're now within. We're not within the margin of litigation, which I think that's
within the margin of
Democrats wanted to try to push this to. No, we're not. We're in the margin of recount.
Okay,
we're in the margin of recount, not litigation.
Fine. Okay, Mr. Coffey.
I think I'm right. I've
done
this for a long time.
I thought you meant recount. Yes. Mr. Coffey. So,
well, we've got a recount going forward pursuant to Republican enacted recount procedures, and the manual recount, which is inevitable in 2 of the 3 races, is going to be conducted with Republican created guidelines for determining voters' intent. The process is going forward. There are absolutely no manufactured votes. That's pure baloney. We all know a lot of votes arrive by 7 p.m. on Election Day. Those are supposed to be counted too. And actually, Broward did get their voting totals in time on Saturday. So it's going forward. There's no basis to discredit this recount process. Give a little bit of credit to elections officials that are working all night, 24 hours to try to get it done by very tight deadlines, because we all know one thing. This election is too close to call. And when it's too close to call, that's exactly why a recount is needed. And because right now, we don't really know who the winners are in these 3 races in Florida, and they are very important elections.
Mr. Blackwell, I mean, you've brought up the Broward County Supervisor of Elections, Brenda Snipes, and you say that she has a checkered past. I think that that is true. There have certainly been questionable acts by her in the past. So why didn't Governor Rick Scott get rid of her? She's been in place for 15 years.
Well, look, at the end of the day, I think that's a very, very good question. She was locally elected. It's a very complicated system to get rid of a person. He could have suspended her, but because she was chosen by the electors of her jurisdiction, I think he probably looked past it with a hope that things would be corrected. But 2016 produced more evidence of gross mismanagement, and that is a real concern to voters of all stripes.
Yeah. Mr. Coffey,
confidence in the return is very important.
Oh, fundamental. Mr. Coffey, you say that the margins are, too close to call or just extremely close. But the truth is that, I mean, in the Ron DeSantis, Andrew Gillum one, Ron DeSantis, the Republican, is up by something like 33,000 votes. Usually a recount doesn't turn around that outcome. It seems as though the Republicans have healthy leads here, 33,000 and I think 12,000 in the other senatorial race. And so Republicans, I mean, from where I sit, look pretty confident. I mean, they could be pretty confident and say, let the recount just proceed. We've got nothing to worry about.
Well, but you're looking at Republicans who, instead of a calm, confident victory lap, seem to have an angry anxiety about this and seem to feel they need to discredit the recount every way possible. That suggests to me that there is indeed merit, that they're concerned about how this is going to turn out. And of course, the Democratic lawyers are pointing out that recounts historically help Democratic candidates. There are plenty of things we don't know. And at the end of the day, the legislative determination was that if something is 0.5%, you don't know how it's going to turn out. Do a machine recount. And if it's 0.25%, the government of Florida, the Republican-led government, has said that is too close to call. You've got to have a 67-county manual recount. So let's respect the process. Let's go forward and at the end of it, count every vote and see what the real results are of this election.
On that note, Ken Blackwell, Kendall Coffey, thank you very much.